Dassiopotamus, ouch, grouch. I don't want to go to bed. Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazee. Alakazamity, optical amity, yipes, gripes. I don't want to go to sleep. I want to build a great big fort, then knock it down again. And that will take me till at least 10:15. Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazed. Alakazippity, juniper, snippety, eeks, shrieks. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed.
Hear that song? I don't want to go to bed, Mommy. I want to stay up late. Well, it's really a very funny thing about bedtime. Parents tuck you in, kiss you goodnight, and say, I wish I could go to bed now. And then they stay up and talk and laugh and watch all the good shows on TV and go to parties. If they're so tired, why don't they go to bed and let you watch the good shows on TV? Well, in case you ever wondered, you're not the only one, because this is a story about a boy just like you, a boy who didn't like to go to bed. And since it is a story, it begins like all good stories, once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Robbie. He was just about as old as you, and just about as big as you, and he hated to go to bed just about as much as you. What Robbie really hated was going to bed before midnight. What he hated was going to bed at 7:30 every night, which was the time his parents made him go to bed. Every evening at 2 minutes after 7 o'clock, his mother would stand at the door of their house and say, Robbie, time to come home and get ready for bed. And Robbie would have to stop whatever he was doing. It's a very funny thing, maybe you've noticed it too, that parents always call you when you're in the middle of things. Robbie's mother never called him home just before he decided to climb a tree. She called him when he was right in the middle of climbing a tree. And she never called him home when he was still sort of clean. She always called him just after he got his socks wet and before they had a chance to dry. And when Robbie's mother called him to come home, she always expected him to stop whatever good thing he was doing. He had to stop playing with his dog, or had to stop sending rockets to the moon, or stop riding his bike, or he had to stop doing nothing at all, which is what he did most of the time. And even though he didn't want to stop doing nothing and start doing something like going home, he knew he would. He always did, but he didn't go home without first saying, So he always said,
Gee whiz.
And then after the second, he would head for home. One evening at 2.5 minutes after 7, as Robbie was walking slowly, very slowly, to go to bed, he had an idea. It was funny the way the idea came to Robbie. It came to him in a flash between thinking about digging for pirate treasure and thinking about joining the Peace Corps. He thought it was a terrific idea, and instead of walking very slowly, he walked fast. Then he walked faster. Then he started running. And he ran right to the side door, opened the door, hurried to his mother, and said,
I'm not tired.
You're yawning.
I'm not tired.
See you in the morning.
I'm real busy.
To me, you look a little dizzy.
Must I undress?
That yawn says yes.
I'm digging me a hole to China.
You're yawning.
I found
No. Robbie couldn't understand what made him start yawning just as he was telling his mother that he wasn't tired.
Maybe it's all that running,
thought Robbie. Then he saw the look on his mother's face. It was the same kind of look his teacher had when Robbie forgot to bring his seashells for show and tell. It was a look that said, "You are a little boy, and I am a grown-up person, so I will not yell at you. But I sure would like to." Robbie understood this look very well. He never argued when he saw this look, because if he did, then his mother would forget that she promised herself not to yell at Robbie, and boy, would she yell! So Robbie took off his sort of wet shoes and walked upstairs in his sort of wet socks, and he thought of how he would get ready for bed. He would get ready for bed nicely. He would be sweet and kind and dear and loving. Suddenly, he stopped between the 6th and 7th step. If he were sweet and kind and dear and loving, would he be allowed to stay up late? Of course not. No one would pay any attention to him.
Oh, boy,
thought Robbie, squeezing his eyes shut with delight.
I have the best plan in all the world. I'm going to annoy my parents. I'm going to annoy them so much they'll be sorry they ever sent me to bed.
And Robbie ran up the rest of the steps and thought if he could, he would tell every little boy in the world,
"Don't please your parents, don't smile and say, 'Good night, dear parents, I'm gonna hit the hay.' Don't make them happy, don't fill your tub, don't hang your clothes up, and don't give your ears a scrub. Don't brush your teeth with care, don't comb and part your hair, don't put your slippers in a nice neat pair, and don't say your prayers. You'd please your parents, doing that stuff, and if you please them once a year, that's quite enough."
The fellas on my street don't trust the guy who's neat.
You've gotta be a little messy to have a lot of friends.
If you want my advice for Sunday school, look nice.
But if you want a buddy, then buddy, look muddy. But don't please your parents, don't smile and say, "Good night, dear parents, hey." Don't make them happy, don't fill your tub, don't hang your clothes up, and don't give your ears a scrub. Don't brush your teeth with care, don't comb and part your hair, don't put your slippers in a nice neat pair, and don't say your prayers. You'd please your parents, doing that stuff.
And if you please them once in a year,
That's quite enough.
This was definitely not going to be the night that Robbie pleased his parents. This was not going to be his once-in-a-year night. After all, if going to bed and not making one teensy sound caused your parents to ignore you, it was obvious to Robbie there was just one way to make parents notice. And that one way was to do what a little boy does better than anyone else in the whole wide world: annoy his parents. So Robbie snuggled into his bed and he started. First he said,
I want a glass of water.
and Robbie's father said,
I'm reading the paper now, Robbie. Get up and get it yourself.
So Robbie climbed out of his bed, walked past the window in his room, watched 3 cars go by, walked around the upstairs bedroom 7 times, went into the bathroom and let the water run until it got very, very cold. Then he climbed on his little chair, got the bathroom glass down, was just about to fill it, when suddenly he realized he wasn't thirsty anymore. So he pushed his little chair out, climbed up and put the glass back. Then he turned the water off, walked back through the bedrooms twice, looked at his new library book in the dark, climbed into his bed and shouted,
Mommy, I'm not sure I remembered to brush my teeth.
and his mother said, It isn't the first time. Brush an extra time tomorrow. Now go to sleep. Next, Robbie said,
Mommy, I think there's a tiger in my room.
and then,
Mommy, I hear an elephant crying. Dad, there's a light shining in my room.
finally, Robbie could hear his father saying, I went up the last time. You go up." And his mother said, "Run, run, run. All I do is run." But his mother came anyway. She turned on the hall light, opened the door of Robbie's room, and said, "Robbie, I do believe you're trying to annoy us." And Robbie tried to look sad, but instead he made a happy face, because it was true. He was trying to annoy his parents, and he thought it was funny that his mother could figure it out, because Robbie didn't think his parents would figure it out at all. Then Robbie's mother said, "What you need is a nightcap."
A nightcap? What in the world is a nightcap?
"It's a cap you wear at night," explained his mommy, "and it has 2 hands that clap over your ears and keep out the stay-awake noises."
You mean I won't hear anything?
Robbie's eyes were wide. "You won't hear anything that keeps you awake," said his mother.
Where will I get a nightcap?
And Robbie's mother showed him one she had in her pocket. "I made this just for you, Robbie," she said. And as she spoke, she put the nightcap on Robbie's head, and the 2 little hands came down over Robbie's ears. Then she tied the nightcap under the chin and tucked Robbie in. Robbie was just about to say, "I'm awake," when he fell fast asleep. The magic nightcap worked. The next morning, Robbie told his daddy about the wonderful nightcap, and he told his big sister, and pretty soon everybody at Robbie's school knew about the nightcap, and everyone wanted one. But Robbie didn't think everyone should have one, just little boys who don't want to go to bed, little boys like you. And that's the end of the story. Well, almost the end, because if you walk down Robbie Street any night, you'll still hear mothers calling at 2 minutes after 7 o'clock, "Bobby, Robbie, Billy, Willie, Johnny, Ronnie, come to
Bed?
Jimmy, Timmy, Aaron, Derek, Annie, Freddie, come to
Bed?
Stevie, Hank, David, Frank, Jeffrey, Charlie, Philip, Farley, Petey, Sweetie, did you hear what Mommy said? Harry, Barry, Larry, Gary, Carrie, boys, your eyes are red. Come to
Bed?
yes, bed." And home they run to put on their nightcaps, except for the new boys on the street who don't have nightcaps. They still shout back to their mothers,
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazed. Alacazodamus, tachiopotamus, ouch, grouch.
I don't want to go to bed.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazee. Alakazamity, optical amity, yipes,
Gripes. I don't want to go to sleep. I want to build a great big fort, then knock it down again. And that will take me till at least 10:15.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazed. Alakazippity, juniper, snippety, eeks, shrieks. I don't want to go to bed.
I don't want to go to bed.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazed. Alacazodamus, tachiopotamus, ouch, grouch.
I don't want to go to bed.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazee. Alakazamity, optical amity, yipes, gripes.
I don't want to go to sleep. I want to give my doll a bath, so she'll be nice and clean. And that will take me till about 10:15.
Flim, flam, Nipper, snippety, eeks, shrieks. I don't want to go to bed.
I don't want to go to bed.
Hear that song? I don't want to go to bed, Mommy. I want to stay up late. Well, most little girls would rather stay up late. They'd rather go to a party. They'd rather pretend to be a 16-year-old princess in a castle on a hill. Or they'd rather be a mother like your mother. Ever notice the way your mother smiles at you and says, I wish I could go to bed now, and then stays up and watches the late movies on television, or talks and laughs with Daddy? Just in case you ever thought there were things you'd rather do than go to bed, this is a story for you. Because this is a story about a girl who didn't like to go to bed. And since this is a story, it begins like all good stories, once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Kathy. She was just about as old as you, and just about as pretty as you. And she hated going to bed just about as much as you. What she really hated was going to bed at 7:30 every night, which was the time her parents made her go to bed. Every evening at 2 minutes after 7 o'clock, her mother or father would stand at the door of their house and say, Kathy, time to come home and get ready for bed. And Kathy would have to stop whatever she was doing. It's a very funny thing. Maybe you've noticed it too. But parents always call you when you're in the middle of things. Kathy's parents never called her home just after she had her turn at Jack's. They always called her right in the middle of her turn. And they never called her home when she was losing a jump rope. They only called when she was winning. And when Kathy's parents called her to come home, they always expected her to stop doing whatever good things she was doing. She had to stop baking dandelion seeds, or stop playing with her best friend, or stop being the #1 movie star in all the world, or stop right in the middle of Seveners and hopscotch, or stop dreaming pink and white daydreams, which is what she did most of the time. She would interrupt her daydream, leave herself hanging on a cloud to answer her parents. They would call, "Come home, Kathy," and she would answer,
Aww.
and then they would say again, "Come home, Kathy, right now." And again, Kathy would say,
Aw, gee.
and then after the second aw, she would head for home. One evening at 2.5 minutes after 7, as Kathy was walking home, slowly, very slowly, to go to bed, she had an idea. It was funny the way the idea came to Kathy. It came in a pink and white flash between thinking about being a nurse for a sick kitty and thinking about being a Sunday school teacher for her little puppy. The idea came in a flash, but Kathy thought it was just about the best idea she had ever thought up. And instead of walking very slowly, she walked fast. Then she walked faster. Pretty soon she started running, and she ran right to the side door, opened the door, hurried to her mother, and said,
I'm not tired.
You're yawning.
I'm not tired.
See you in the morning.
I'm fresh as a daisy.
You're crazy.
Must I undress?
That yawn says yes.
I'm such a pretty girl, I skater.
You're yawning.
I'll do a figure 8.
See you in the morning.
I'm stewardess on a jet, and I haven't served the passengers supper yet. Must I go up?
That yawn says yep.
I'm playing nurse and someone's got pneumonia. You be the doctor and I'll telephone you. I'm playing high heels dress up.
You're yawning.
Later I'm gonna clean the mess up.
Do it in the morning.
Here is one of my best tricks. I'm
No. No. No.
Kathy couldn't understand what made her start yawning just as she was telling her mother that she wasn't tired,
Maybe he was dreaming about that kitty and that puppy.
thought Kathy. Then she saw the look on her mother's face. It was the same kind of look her teacher had when Kathy forgot to bring seashells for a show and tell. It was a look that said, "You're a little girl and I'm a grown-up person, so I will not use my very annoyed voice with you, but I sure would like to." Kathy understood this look very well. She never argued when she saw this look, because if she did, then her mother would forget that she had promised herself not to use her very annoyed voice with Kathy, and boy, would she sound annoyed. So Kathy took off her jacket, hung it on the hook, and walked upstairs. And she thought about how she would get ready for bed. She would get ready for bed nicely. She would be sweet and kind and dear and loving. Suddenly she stopped. If she were sweet and kind and dear and loving, would she be allowed to stay up late? Of course not. No one would pay any attention to her,
Oh, boy.
thought Kathy, squeezing her eyes shut with delight.
I have the best plan in all the world. I'm going to annoy my parents. I'm going to annoy my parents so much, they'll be sorry they ever sent me to bed.
And Kathy skipped up the rest of the steps and thought if she could, she would tell every little girl in the world.
Don't please your parents. Don't smile and say, "Good night, dear parents. I'm gonna hit the hay." Don't make them happy. Don't make pigtails. Don't soap your elbows. And don't clean your fingernails. Don't brush your teeth with care. Lay out clean underwear. Don't put your slippers in a nice neat pair. And don't say your prayers. You please your parents, doing their stuff. And if you please them once in a year, that's quite enough.
A proper goody good won't have the friends she should.
You've gotta do a little mischief to have a lot of friends.
If you want my advice, and Sunday school be nice.
But don't be too nice, lassie. On weekdays, be sassy. But don't please your parents. Don't smile and say, "Good night, dear parents. I'm gonna hit the hay." Don't make them happy. Don't make pigtails. Don't soap your elbows. And don't clean your fingernails. Don't brush your teeth with care. Lay out clean underwear. Don't put your slippers in a nice neat pair. And don't say your prayers. You please your parents, doing that stuff.
And if you please them here.
That's quite enough.
This was definitely not going to be the night that Kathy pleased her parents. This was not going to be her once-a-year night. After all, if going to bed and not making one teensy sound caused your parents to ignore you, it was obvious to Kathy that there was just one way to make your parents notice. And the one way was to do just what a little girl does better than anybody else in the whole wide world: keep calling for her daddy. So Kathy snuggled under her pink and white flower blanket, and she started. First she said,
I want a glass of water.
and Kathy's father said, "Just a minute. As soon as I finish the sports pages." And sure enough, pretty soon her daddy came to her room with a glass of water. She sipped daintily, then moved from her left elbow to her right elbow, and splash! All over the pink and white blanket went the water. So she called again,
Daddy, I spilled the water.
and back came her daddy, mopping up the soggy blanket. Then, just as her daddy pulled the covers under her chin and tiptoed out, she called.
Daddy, I want to kiss you.
So back he went to kiss Kathy. Then he went downstairs, picked up his newspaper, turned on his TV, and Kathy shouted,
I'm not sure I remember to brush my teeth.
and her daddy said, "Brush twice tomorrow morning. Good night, little princess." Next, Kathy said,
Daddy, my pigtails feel bumpy on my head. Daddy, I think I have a temperature. Daddy, the street light is shining in my room.
Finally, Kathy could hear her mother say, "Oh, no, you don't. This time I'm going up." And up she came. She opened the door of Kathy's room, gave her a very knowing kind of look, because, after all, once she had been a little girl with a daddy. "Kathy," said her mother softly, "I do believe you're trying to annoy us." And Kathy tried to look sad, but instead she made a happy face because it was true. She was trying to annoy her parents, and she thought it was funny that her mother could figure it out. Kathy didn't think her parents would figure it out at all. Then Kathy's mother said, "What you need is a nightcap."
A nightcap? What's a nightcap?
"It's a cap you wear at night," explained her mommy. "And it has two hands that clap over your ears and keep out the stay-awake noises."
You mean I won't hear anything?
Her mother promised she wouldn't hear anything that would keep her awake.
Where will I get a nightcap?
And Kathy's mother showed her the one she had in her pocket. It looked like a regular cap, but had two little hands that came down over Kathy's ears. Kathy's mommy put the nightcap on her head, tied the nightcap under her chin, and tucked Kathy in. Kathy was just about to say,
I'm awake.
when she fell fast asleep. The magic nightcap worked. The next morning, Kathy told her daddy about the wonderful nightcap. And she told her little brother, even though he was only 4 months old and loved to sleep. Pretty soon, everyone at school knew about Kathy's nightcap, and everyone wanted one. But Kathy didn't think everyone should have one, just little girls who don't want to go to bed, little girls like you. And that's the end of the story. Well, almost the end, because if you walk down Kathy's street at night, you'll still hear mothers calling at 7 o'clock.
Mary, Carrie, Cindy, Mindy, Andy, Candy, come to Beth, Alan, Helen, Lauren, Corinne, Madeline, come to Beth, Kathy, Lou, Susie, Q, Nancy, Amy, Debbie, Mamie, Bunny, honey, did you hear what Mommy said? Jeannie, Janie, Joni, Junie, Ginny, Jenny, your eyes are red. Come to bed? Yes, bed.
And home they'd run to put on their nightcaps. Except for the new girls on the street who don't have their very own nightcaps. They still shout back to their mothers,
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazam, alakazatomus, dashiopotamus, ouch, grouch.
I don't want to go to bed.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazink, alakazamity, optical amity, yipes, gripes.
I don't want to go to sleep. I want to give my doll a bath, so she'll be nice and clean. And that will take me till about 10:15.
Flim, flam, jim, jam, alakazam, kazam, alakazippity, juniper, snippety, eeks, shrieks. I don't want to go to bed.
I don't want to go to bed.